Hey, good morning, God's imprint. Nimeokoka this morning. I thank God for the goodness for His goodness and His faithfulness. So, for the next 10 minutes, we are going to look at the topic of praying with the right motive, which can also be described as not praying amiss, and also prayer that God answers. So, we are going to look at the prayer of Solomon. The prayer we can find it in First Kings chapter 3. So Solomon, when he was becoming king, he was young and inexperienced. And this is what we are told that he prayed. And I can share my Bible. So First Kings chapter 3, we are told that Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed burnt offerings in high places, and the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. 1,000 offerings did Solomon offer upon the Lord, that is on the altar. So during these days, people would go and offer burnt offerings to God. And we are told that Solomon loved God, walking in his ways and in the statutes of David his father. So he went to Gibeon and offered 1,000 offerings to go before God. So one of the things that Solomon did, he went and sought the face of God. And you see, whenever we draw near to God, God is faithful. And we are told in Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. And God said, "Ask what I shall give you." Wow. We see that God is faithful. Whenever we draw near to Him, God always answers our prayers. Because God here is asking Solomon, ask whatever you want me to give you. And because our topic today is praying with the right motive and praying the right prayer, we see this is what Solomon did. First of all, Solomon humbled himself before God. And this is what Solomon said: "You have shown great kindness to your servant, my father David, because he was faithful to you and righteous and upright in heart. You've continued this great kindness to him and given him a son to sit on the throne. Now, O Lord, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, but I am only a little child." I want us to emphasize, I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. So the first thing that Solomon does, he humbles himself before God and acknowledges that he is just like a little child, not knowing how to carry out his duties. David had left the kingship to Solomon, and this was when Solomon was starting his kingship. And when he did this, this is what he continues to say, because he made a very specific prayer to God. "Your servant is here among the people you've chosen, a great people, too numerous to count or number. So give to your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours? So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people, to distinguish between right and wrong, for who is able to govern these great people of yours." We can look this in a different version. Let's look at the King James. "Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad, for who is able to judge these thy great people." We can also look at ESV. "Give your servant therefore," this is the version I wanted, "an understanding mind to govern your people." He went to God with the right prayer, and he prayed that God would give him, first of all, an understanding mind to govern his people, and that he may discern between good and evil. Wow, two things he made here: an understanding mind, and even much more powerful, he prayed that God would give him an understanding mind to discern between good and evil. For who is able to govern these great people? So this was the right prayer that he made before God, because Bible inatuambia that it pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this. And God said to him, "Because you have asked this and have not asked for yourself long life, riches, or the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right. Behold, now I do according to your word. Behold, I give you a wise and discerning mind, so that none like you has been before, and none like you shall arise after you. I give you also what you have not asked, both riches and honor, that no other kings shall compare with you all your days. Amen. May God bless his word. So Solomon tunaweza jifunza na story yake because he would have asked God many things, but he chose to ask God for wisdom and understanding. He chose to ask God that God would give him the ability to distinguish what is good and what is evil. Na tunaona Mungu aliposikia hii ndio ilikuwa prayer ya Solomon, he not only gave him that, but he gave him even what he had not asked. God gave him long life and riches. We know that Solomon was the richest king. We know that Solomon was the wisest king. You can remember the two ladies who came to him and how he judged the case. And because Solomon, venye tumeona hapa, humbled himself and kwanza aka acknowledge that, Lord, I am just but a little child. I do not know how to go out or come in. We see that humbling ourselves before God, and when we draw near to God, when we started this story, tunaona Solomon decided to go to Gibeon, and we are told that he offered 1,000 burnt offerings to God. So he made the right decision to go and seek the face of God. And whenever we draw near to God, as we are encouraged in the book of James, that when we draw near to God, he will draw near to us. We see that same night, God appears to him and he asks him, what do you want me to give you, Solomon? Now, Solomon prayed the right prayer. He prayed for a discerning heart, and he prayed for understanding to distinguish what is right and evil. So that was the devotion for today. May God help us, and may God grant us the ability to discern between what is right and what is evil. And just as we've been encouraged, when we come to God with the right motive, God knows even what we need, because he was able to give Solomon not only wisdom and understanding, but long life and riches. So that was the devotion for today. Mungu awabariki sana.